I want to show you guys 4 very simple techniques that can truly bring your videography skills to the next level. About 2 years ago, I bought my first nice camera, thinking that it would fix all my issues. You probably know what I'm going to say next, but that was completely false. This made me ask myself, how does everyone but me get these really nice, crispy, clean shots? I've watched countless hours of videos on what the experts were doing that I wasn't. I've also repeated techniques repeatedly until I finally figured it out. Welcome to 1FF Media. My name is Rusty. I want to share with you guys what I believe are the 4 most important techniques that you can implement into your video to truly get to that next level. Kick back and relax as we break things down. Let's jump into it. The first technique is used in just about every video or movie that you've seen. It's a great way to take a boring shot and spice it up a bit. It's easy, it's effective, it's foreground. Foreground is the element closest to the camera, so it's simply the exact opposite of your background. Foreground can draw more attention to your main subject, as well as adding a cinematic effect to your overall frame. Here's an example of 2 very similar shots. The first one is with no foreground, and the second is with foreground. As you can see, the second video just adds a little sprinkle of that professional look to the shot. Also, here's a bonus tip. If you're having trouble creating your scene because the foreground is just too hard to implement, bring the foreground to you. This is an awesome way to implement this technique in tough circumstances. Also, this is going to apply to all the tips throughout this video, but you don't want to abuse these techniques in every single shot. Learning when to implement each technique is going to be a huge part of your learning curve. Filming every shot at the same exact angle can get very boring. You notice you may have a tendency to keep your camera right at eye level or kind of at chest level when you're filming. Let's explore other options to add yet more spice to your next video. Angling your camera in different positions can drastically change the emotions and feelings of the shot. Let me show you again where I decided to add a different angle to capture the feeling of the shot. As you can see, by switching this perspective, it really changed and enhanced the video. So by putting my camera angle very low and pointing it upwards to my subject, that's making my subject look powerful, strong, and big. When I had the camera at my chest level and just filmed her running, you can tell there wasn't much spice to the shot. Also, give these other angles a shot in your next project. The downward angle, making your subject look smaller, often portraying vulnerability or powerless. The exact opposite of the shot that we just went over that is called the upward angle. Close or tight shot. If your subject is a human, this is a great time to capture the emotion in their face. It will allow the viewer to focus on their expressions and reactions. If your subject is not a human, a close or tight shot can be used to display the important detail in something. To some of you, this may be very common knowledge, but you still may be able to grab some information from this, so stay with me. With video, we are very limited to the range of shutter speed that we're actually allowed to use. Being stuck to these lower shutter speeds, it can be quite tricky to get a perfect exposure or even near perfect. And of course, we don't want to sacrifice our nice bokeh to better expose our shot. This is where your ND filter comes into play. Putting your ND filter on the end of your lens is pretty much the same thing as putting sunglasses over your eyes, bringing down that bright glare to even out the exposure in your frame. Another great use that commonly gets overlooked is using your ND filters indoors. It can help in situations where you have weird interior lights. It can help in situations like this where I have RGB lights, and overall it can just change the look of your image. I don't need an ND filter in here right now, but by simply adding one, you can see the difference that it's bringing to this room. Also, my key light is very close to me, so the ND filter helps soften that as it's hitting my face. So it may not be 100% necessary indoors, but it could change the image to something you like a little more. Don't overlook it when it comes to indoors, and definitely don't overlook it when it comes to outdoors. This is a very affordable piece of equipment, and it can easily take your image to that next level. Are you having trouble getting from one shot to the next? As simple as it sounds, it can actually be quite difficult. So with that being said, let's try some camera transitions. In a nutshell, a transition is jumping from one scene to the next. There are so many ways to do this, but knowing when to do a certain transition can really elevate the value of your video. If you're anything like me, you think of a motion blur, a black fade, or a fancy film burn to get you from one scene to the next. Let's go over some basic transitions that need to actually be planned before you hit that record button. The first and most basic transition that I've already been using in this video is B-roll. B-roll is a great way to get yourself or your subject from one place to the next. This gives the viewer a more clear understanding of the video. Rather than jumping from one scene to the next, just show them. It can be diced up with short clips, quick cuts, but just a little sneak peek of how you got from that one scene to the next can go a long way. Again, knowing when to do this is important, and not abusing this for every transition is something that you're going to learn how to do as you go. The next in-camera transition you can use is called a whip pan. It's simply whipping your camera in one direction at the end of a shot, then starting your next shot, whipping your camera in that same direction. It's super simple to put together when editing. Cut both clips when the motion blur is at a high point and simply join them together. If you want to spice it up, you can add a blur or dissolve in the middle, but either way, it's going to look seamless and easy once you start to figure this transition out. I like to use these when things are moving fast paced and you just quickly want to jump from one scene to the next without having to explain everything in the middle. Make sure to plan these transitions beforehand and give them a shot on your next video. Expressing yourself on YouTube or being behind the camera in general can be very intimidating. Don't worry, every creator or YouTuber has struggled with this. Luckily though, there is key factors they do to get comfortable and tell a great story behind the lens. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my next video on creating a killer script. We'll be going over simple methods all big creators use to make sure that they nail their video. Thanks for stopping by. I truly appreciate anyone that has made it to this point in the video. If that's you, boop the like button on the way out and show some love. I'll see you guys in the next one.